Hello everybody, this is Hammer Striker here. I've got a couple of Glocks on the table. I've got the Glock 19 Gen 5 and I've got the Glock 25 Gen 3. Please don't forget to check out our website. Go to our affiliates page. You'll find discount codes for things like Mantis X and Core belts. Link to that cool little bore light that we use for lighting up the barrels. Use those links. It will often save you money, never will cost you any additional money, and helps the channel. And please consider supporting the channel on Player, formerly Utreon, where we can do some types of videos that are no longer allowed on YouTube. The 19 everybody's familiar with. It's the 9mm compact. It sits between the Glock 17, which is a full size, and the Glock 26, which is a subcompact. And this is a very popular concealed carry gun. It's been around for a real long time, shoots 9mm, and is a pretty popular pistol. This guy over here is been around in the US for a lot less time, but it's been around overall for quite some time. It is a Glock 19 size gun, so it's a compact, but it's chambered in 380 ACP. And due to the ATF's point system, this has never been able to be imported into the United States. You actually still can't import them in the United States. What they do is now they make them in the United States. That solves the problem. But for the longest time, the Glock fans have been clamoring for the Glock 25, which is the 19 size 380, and the Glock 28, which is the subcompact, be equivalent to the Glock 26. Both are available now. I've done reviews on both of them. We'll put the link to the Glock 25 review as well as our Glock 19 review in the description. But I wanted to compare them. And they're very similar. Obviously, the caliber is different, and that's one major difference between them. Otherwise, they're very dimensionally close. The Glock 19, which is the one here at the front, is 7.28 front to back, and the Glock 25 is 7.36 front to back. You know, not a significant difference. They're both 5.04 tall. When you put the flush magazine in them, they're going to sit equal with the flush magazines. The magazines are the same basic body. Where they are different, and this is actually not surprising, because Glock made the slides and everything thicker on the Gen 5s. So the Gen 5s are thicker than their prior. This is a Gen 3. So the Glock 25 is 1.26 inches and the Glock 19 is 1.34. Now, one of the areas that these are noticeably different is capacity. So the Glock 19, this is the magazine for it, is 15 round capacity. Magazine fits nice in there, and of course this is an early Gen 5, so it has the cutout to pull the magazine free. And you might think the magazines are interchangeable because they actually will go into the mag well, but they're not. Of course, 380 has a stopper here at the back because the 380 round is shorter. So you definitely cannot put the 9mm in a 380 magazine. In theory, you could put a 9mm round or a 380 round in the 9mm magazine, but don't expect it to be reliable. You really need to use the right magazines. So though the base magazines are 15 for both of them, you'll see the magazine on the 380 is laid out differently. The 19 has the ability to use the 17 round magazine from the Glock 17. It has the ability to use much larger magazines and other feeding devices that are available, that you can get a significant amount of capacity available in a Glock 19. Because you can't reliably put a 380 in a 9mm magazine and expect it to work, you're limited to the 15 round magazines, and the Gen 3s come with 2 of them. There isn't a Glock 17 size version of the 380 available in the United States. I don't even know if they make one, but if they do, it's not available here. Which means there's really no, unless some other third party does it, there's no larger magazines. So you are limited to the 15 rounds that sit in the flush magazine. There's no other options available. The barrels are both 4.02 inches long, so they have basically the same barrel. One of the areas where they are also different is the way they operate. So the Glock 25 is the one here sitting on the top, and the Glock 19 is on the bottom. The Glock 19 and all of the Glocks that you're used to here in the United States in all the calibers except 380 are locked breech. The 25 and 28 are blowback. And you'll notice that the shape of the locking block is different, And of course the 22s are blowback as well, but the center fire ones are all locked breech except for the 380. So it unlocks a little differently, and other than that it's not a significant difference. It works reliably. You really don't notice a huge difference in the way it works. Of course 380 has less recoil. It's a lighter powered round, so it's less recoil and a little bit easier to control. Sights are the same. There are the U-dot sights that you become used to on Glocks, and the sight replacement options are the same. They're dovetailed at the back and then screwed in on the front. So any of the sights from any of the other regular Glocks will work. So if you don't like these, you can put night sights, tritium fiber optic, whatever it is you want to put on it. The only other differences that are noticeable is the Gen 4s and Gen 5s have replaceable back straps, and they've got this kind of this pyramid shaped texture. The Gen 3s have this pebble texture and no replaceable back straps, and the finger grooves with texture in them. The Gen 4s have finger grooves, the Gen 5s don't. But they are, as far as I know, these are not going to be made in Gen 4 or Gen 5. It was kind of a limited run. It was a distributor exclusive. They made the 25 and 28, you know, the compact and the subcompact, and when they're gone, they're gone. I do still see them available. I'm seeing an MSRP on these between $4.99 and $5.20, or I'm sorry, kind of a availability price of between $4.99 and $5.29. Glock doesn't publish an MSRP, depending on where you look, for the 25. The Glock 19 seems to be going between $5.40 and $6.50. One of the noticeable differences with the Glock 19 is there is an optics ready, they call it MOS version available of the Glock 19. There is not, and likely will not be, a MOS version of the Glock 25. They would have to upgrade it probably to Gen 4 or Gen 5. They'd probably go to Gen 5 if they did. And I just don't see that as being a high probability, given that this was kind of a special run. So let's look at the triggers. So we'll start with the Glock 25. Of course, it has the same safeties of any other Glock. It has the inertial toggle and it has the internal drop safety piston. It does have some ridges on the trigger. A little bit of take-up. Nice crisp short break. Reset is fairly short and you're right on the wall. There's no take-up. You could hear it, you can feel it. And then again, that short crisp break. I like the triggers on Glocks. Some people don't, but I do. Now we go to the Gen 5. You do have the inertial toggle, but you'll notice the trigger is smooth. They took the serrations off the trigger, and that's true with just the Gen 5s in general. Same minimal take-up. A less crisp, it's a little bit longer, a little bit softer wall, but still overall short. Relatively short reset, just a hair of bounce, a hair of take-up to get back on the wall. And then again, that slightly longer wall. I wouldn't call it creepy. It's not long enough to be a creepy wall, but it's not a really short, crisp wall. There's a little bit of pull through to get it to break. And again, that's characteristics of the Gen 5s. I found both triggers easy to shoot well. I found both guns easy to control. Of course, there's less recoil on the 380. The blowback operation feels a little different than the centerfire operation. Just, you know, the way it feels is slightly different as it cycles. But I found they're both easy to control. The sights are easy to use. They're easy to stay on target. Question comes down to which one would I pick? Well, I'd pick the Glock 19. Why? 9mm is a more capable cartridge. This gun's been around for a very long time. This I consider more of a novelty item. People wanted them because they couldn't have them, because you couldn't import them. Now you can have them, but I consider this more of a novelty item. The purpose I would see for 380 is really two different purposes. One purpose is to get a very, very small gun, and this is not. Another purpose would be to get a very light rack slide, very limited recoil, something that somebody with compromised hand strength can handle. And this does have a slightly lighter slide, but not really compared to some of the others, and the recoil is lighter. But when you get into things like the 380EZ and others by other manufacturers, the slide is significantly lighter, and the gun is overall designed for handling recoil better for somebody with compromised hand strengths. So the two primary purposes where I would choose 380, this gun really doesn't hit either one of them. Biggest reason this thing exists at all is in certain European countries, the civilians are not allowed to own military calibers. A 9mm being a military caliber, .380 is the replacement for civilians. Here in the United States, I have one because they're interesting and it's another Glock, but it's not one I would pick to put in a holster to use as a carry piece. Would it be reliable for that? Absolutely, it's a Glock. Is it the best choice for that? Absolutely not. There's a lot of other better choices for that purpose out there. Beyond that, if you like our videos, please give us a thumbs up. Check that checkbox if you subscribe, and check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Player, and Rumble. We're pretty much everywhere. And thank you.